Jane Grey spends her mornings studying Greek with her tutor, an older man who constantly praises her because, at 15, she already reads Plato in the original language. She can debate theology in Latin with scholars twice her age. She has memorized more passages of the Bible than most priests will ever know in their entire lives. She eats breakfast early, bread with honey, a bit of cheese, warm milk, then sits by the library window while her tutor brings her new books. Texts freshly printed on the continent. Ideas that are changing the world, even though she lives so deeply buried in study that she barely notices how much the world itself is shifting. In the afternoons, she practices music, mostly the virginal. Her slender fingers move across the keys with mechanical precision, the result of endless repetition. She no longer has to think. She simply plays while her mind drifts elsewhere, usually to a passage from Cicero she read that morning, or a theological argument she plans to debate the next day. Sometimes she embroiders, because noble girls are expected to know embroidery. She finds it dull. She would rather be reading, but appearances must be maintained. Roles must be played, even when you would choose something else. Dinner is with her family when they are in the same residence, which is not always the case. Her father is constantly at court, constantly maneuvering, constantly calculating. When they dine together, he asks about her studies, nods at her answers, but his mind is elsewhere. Jane understands, even without being told, that she is a piece in a game he is playing, though she does not yet know what that game is. At night, she reads until her eyes ache by candlelight. When the candles are blown out, she lies in the dark thinking that the ideas in her books feel more real than her own life, more meaningful than family dinners, more important than the roles expected of her. This is her life, orderly, predictable, and she does not yet know that her life is about to stop being hers. Jane Grey is small, thin, pale, with reddish hair, not considered especially beautiful. What gives her value is her blood. She is the great-granddaughter of Henry VII, close enough to the throne to matter. And in 1553, she has something even more valuable. She is Protestant, deeply, genuinely Protestant, not for convenience, but by conviction. That makes her useful. King Edward VI, her cousin, is dying at 15 with no heirs. If the succession follows the law, the throne will pass to Mary, Catholic, determined to undo the Protestant Reformation. Edward's advisors do not want that. They look for an alternative. They choose Jane. She is married hastily to Guilford Dudley, against her will. She protests, she cries, she begs to continue studying. Her parents beat her until she agrees. Because she is not seen as a person with a future of her own, but as a tool. Edward dies on July 6th. Before dying, he signs a document removing Mary from the succession and naming Jane as queen. On July 10th, Jane is told the king is dead. Then she is told she is queen. She faints. She refuses, says it is illegal, says Mary is the rightful heir, but the men around her insist. They leave her no choice. Jane accepts. She is proclaimed Queen of England. She is taken to the Tower of London, not as a prisoner, but as a monarch. Crown jewels are brought to her. People bow, call her Majesty. And she knows the power is really not hers. She is queen in name only.
9 days. That is how long Jane Grey is queen. Support collapses almost immediately. Mary escapes, gathers allies. Nobles defect. The Duke of Northumberland leaves London, and without him, the council turns against Jane. Her own father abandons her. On July 19th, Jane is told Mary is now queen. She surrenders the crown jewels with relief, believing she can return to her old life. She cannot. Her chambers become a prison. Guards now watch her. She is in mortal danger. Her husband is imprisoned. Her father is imprisoned. Northumberland is executed. Jane waits. Weeks pass, then months. Mary hesitates. Jane is young, a cousin, used by others. There is talk of mercy. Then, in February 1554, a Protestant rebellion breaks out. Jane had nothing to do with it, but her existence is now a threat. Mary decides Jane must die. She is told 5 days before the execution. Jane asks for books, writes letters, refuses to abandon her Protestant faith even when a Catholic priest tries to convert her. She is offered a final meeting with her husband. She refuses. It would be too painful. On the morning of February 12th, Jane dresses in black, calm, controlled. From her window, she watches Guilford led to his execution. She hears the crowd. She sees his body brought back beneath her window. Then they come for her. Inside the Tower courtyard, a scaffold waits. No crowd, only witnesses. Jane climbs the steps alone. She reads a short speech, accepts legal guilt, refuses to renounce her faith. She blindfolds herself. She cannot find the block. For a moment, panic breaks through. Where is it? Someone guides her. She kneels. Lord, into thy hands I commend my spirit. The axe falls. One clean blow. Jane Grey is dead at 16. She is buried without a marked grave. The world moves on. Mary reigns, then dies. Elizabeth restores Protestantism. Everything Jane died for happens anyway. But Jane never sees it. She was too educated, too noble, too useful. Everything that made her extraordinary made her expendable. And her life ends before she ever had the chance to decide who she wanted to be. Jane Grey remains in the Tower. At first, she believes mercy is possible. Mary is her cousin. Jane is young. Jane was used. She has been convicted of treason, but the sentence is not carried out. Days pass, then weeks, then months. She lives in a suspended state, condemned but alive. Every morning could be the last. Every night ends without knowing if she will wake again. This uncertainty becomes its own form of torture. Outside the Tower, Mary consolidates power. Protestant reforms are undone. Catholicism is restored. Jane understands what she represents now. Not a person, but a symbol. As long as she lives, she is dangerous. Her husband remains imprisoned elsewhere in the Tower. They do not see each other. They exist in parallel isolation. Jane reads. She writes. She prays. She reflects on how quickly everything collapsed, how 9 days erased a lifetime of study, how easily people who called her queen abandoned her. She understands now that power does not protect the innocent. It only uses them. Then, in February of 1554, everything changes. A rebellion erupts. Jane does not participate. She never leaves the tower. But it does not matter. Her existence alone is enough. Mary realizes that as long as Jane lives, rebellion will always be possible. And so, the decision is made. Jane Grey must die.
Jane is informed on February 7th. The execution will take place on February 12th. 5 days. She asks for books. She asks for paper. She asks for permission to write letters. She is allowed this. She asks for a Protestant minister. This is denied. Instead, a Catholic priest is sent to her, instructed to convert her before death. Jane debates theology with him calmly, intelligently. She does not waver. She refuses to renounce her beliefs, even knowing it will not save her life. She writes letters to her father, to her sister. Her words are not angry. They are resigned. She writes about accepting God's will, about injustice, about peace, about being tired of being used by others. She is offered a final meeting with her husband, Guildford Dudley. She refuses. She knows seeing him would break her composure. She chooses strength over comfort. Guildford accepts her decision. They will die the same day. He will die first. The morning of February 12th is cold. Jane dresses carefully in a simple black gown. No jewelry, no ornamentation. Women help her dress. They cry as they do. Jane remains composed, controlled. From her window, she sees Guildford being led to the scaffold on Tower Hill. She sees the crowd gather. She waits. Then she hears the sound a crowd makes when something irreversible has happened. Later, his body is brought back through the tower in a cart, covered, his head separated, placed in a wooden box. Jane watches silently. This is the last thing she sees before they come for her. She knows now there is nothing left to wait for. Jane is led into the inner courtyard of the tower. A scaffold stands ready. Straw lies scattered to absorb blood. There is no crowd, only officials, nobles, witnesses. She climbs the steps without help. Her legs tremble, but she does not fall. She reads a short speech she prepared the night before. Her voice is steady. She says she accepts death according to the law. She says she never sought the crown. She says she dies a true Christian. She does not recant. She blindfolds herself. She kneels, and for a moment she cannot find the block. Fear breaks through her composure. Where is it? What shall I do? Someone guides her hands. She places her head. Lord, into thy hands I commend my spirit. The executioner raises the axe. One blow. Clean. Jane Grey dies at 16. Her body is placed in a wooden box and buried without ceremony, without a marked grave, inside the Tower Chapel. Jane and Guildford are eventually buried together. Her father is executed days later. Her mother survives. The Dudley family is destroyed. Mary reigns for 5 years, reversing the Reformation, earning the name Bloody Mary. She dies. Elizabeth takes the throne and restores Protestantism. Everything Jane died for happens anyway. But Jane never lives to see it. She was too young, too educated, too noble. The books she loved did not save her. Her intelligence did not protect her. Her faith made her dangerous. Everything that made her extraordinary made her expendable. Her death was legal, documented, procedural. And yet, it was the execution of a 16-year-old girl who never wanted power, killed not for what she did, but for what she represented. And it all ended before she ever had the chance to decide who she wanted to be.